Hello. Yeah, I know you're not used to seeing me like this. I look like a psychopath, don't I? But, today, we are reviewing Please Don't Feed the Vampire. One of the books I said I would review in the upcoming future a while back on a post. So here we are. Yeah, I know you're not used to seeing me like this, but yeah, this is basically the setup for now, how we're gonna do it. Decided I want to take a more professional take. Instead of just holding phone like, so yeah guys, we're gonna review this book today, or oh yeah guys, and that's the top 10 most mid-tier Goosebumps books ever made. Yeah, Shrunky's hot. So we're not doing that no more. Now we're doing this. I used to do this on my older videos. I stopped doing it, but now I'm doing it again. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So yeah, today we're gonna review Please Don't Feed the Vampire. It's been a while since I've read this, so my memory's rusty. But I know exactly what I thought about it, and it's probably the same. I mean, it's only like a few months ago when I reread it, I think. Came back to it, so rereading it again. It was fun. It's still fun. I should have gotten to this one sooner, and yeah, this is actually gonna be my first ever Give Yourself book review. So, probably next would be like Escape from the Carnival of Horrors, because that's like the first one I ever read, because that's the one. I mean, it's the first book. Of course, it's the first one I read. But yeah. I mean, that series is my least read series so far, because I'm trying to read all the books that actually are one main story, because it's so complicated. Because I have to keep track of every path and stuff, or most of the paths, so I can get a good review. And I don't think I even went through all the paths, in most of the Give Yourself books that I have read. This one, I have been through them all, but for like one that I read recently, Curse the Creeping Coffin, there's so many paths that you can take, so it's kind of hard to keep track. One of the paths I took up all night because it was just so long. So yeah, I'm gonna have to. This book is gonna, the series is gonna be a lot slower when it comes out, because it's hard to read these books because they're so complicated. I mean, it's easy, but you have to do 20 different stories and remember which choice you did not take in a specific events. But yeah, or I could just skip through all the pages and read the endings and say I totally read them all, which I didn't. Anyways, yeah, so let's get to the review segment. So, starters, let's get to reading the back of the book. Let's see. Oh god, this one's a long one. His bark is not worse than his bite. Okay. You buy something called Vampire in a Can. Interesting. At first you think it's just a goofy vampire costume with a cape, plastic fangs, and a tattoo of teeth marks. But then you find a packet in the bottom of the can labeled, "Danger, keep away." Oh, is it like one of those weird salt packets? I have a notification. There we go. If you try to open the packet with your teeth, it rips open in your mouth. Uh-oh, looks like you've been transformed into a vampire, and you're really thirsty. If you decide not to open the packet, the dog sinks its teeth into it. Now your cute little poodle has become a ferocious vampire dog. Fifi, very iconic character in the movie. That's the main reason why I did this, because I know people might click because of that. Can you save both? Oh god, there's a little bit of, yeah, you see this stuff? Yeah, this book's old, so I can't read that. Before he bites off more than he can chew. The choice is yours in this scary Goosebumps adventure that's packed with over 20 super spooky endings. Reader beware, you're in for a scare. Give yourself goosebumps. So what's the next book in the series, Secret Agent Grandma? I have like one copy of that, and I haven't read it yet, and I already know it's gonna be like one of those chicken books. One of those books that are like chicken. Or 5th grade zombies. Anyways, that is the synopsis of the book. That's basically like how everybody Give Yourself book is gonna go. Like, oh, so if you do this, so you know that's just gonna go down. But you know, you could also do that. It doesn't give away too much for all the endings, but let me flat out tell you guys now, this book is pretty good. It's pretty damn good. First of all, I want to say this book is the reason why I don't think vampires are the absolute like most boring thing there is in like horror media. for like mythical creatures via horror, like Frankenstein, mummies, zombies, skeletons, living skeletons, my favorite personally, or dummies. I see sloppy living dolls in general, but this is the reason why vampires are not the worst in my opinion. I think the worst is like pirates. I know that barely even counts, and technically they were real, but still, it just does not hit as much as the others. But still, this isn't terrible. This actually changed my mind about it, and this is why I'm starting to like vampires a little more. Now, originally when this, I had low expectations, like, okay, we have Vampire Dog, and then we have, of course, Vampire Kids, vampires everywhere. So, before I'll just tell you, some of the endings are just kind of boring. They kind of just happen, like, there's one that you just turn to a vampire, and I think you live with it, basically. And it's just terrible, apparently. And you can fly around and shit, and it's just really, like, okay. And it happens, like, almost immediately, I think, in the book that you can get to that. I don't know when exactly, but I think it was that. I think it was, like, immediately. But, yeah. This book changed my mind about vampires in general. Just not as much as I wish it would, but, of course, there's still those endings that suck, as I just gave an example of. But, yeah. Let's get on to the things that I really liked about the book, specifically. Oh, I didn't see you there. So, some of the things I liked about the books. Well, the endings, and everything about it. I liked when Fifi turned to a vampire. It was more interesting, I must say. I preferred it a little more, and I personally think it had some of the better endings. Not that they were all just absolute shit, but I mean, some of them were kind of just lame. But yeah, this one has some really good endings, and I really liked it, especially if you take the Fifi route. There's a pet store scene, which is really interesting. I think there was a pet store scene. I'm not retarded, right? There's also a scene. I think you go to the store where you bought it just to return it or something. That scene is also really cool because there's some stuff that happens after and before it and stuff. There's so many cool scenes in this book and cool areas, locations you go to. It's awesome, and I was really looking forward to them when I first mentioned it. Like, so we're gonna go here. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds like it's gonna be fun. So some of the locations in this book really made the book more interesting. But again, it's not just about the locations. Of course, it's about the vampires. So that's the next best thing. The vampires in general are in this book. There's a lot of vampires. Not just the main character in Fifi, there were other vampires, or people who are like vampires, I think. But yeah, there was a lot of vampire stuff, not just revolving around the main character and Fifi. And it was really interesting because, I mean, from just from the description alone, you wouldn't expect more vampires from this, right? Wrong. If you take some endings wrong. Some specific choices, bad choice, whatever. I just quoted Better Call Saul episode. Jesus. Anyways, I personally think this book is pretty good, just because of that. Just if everything was left out, then this book would be just alright. Not that the other stuff isn't good, it just helps out a little bit more. But the vampires just really add to the book. As like I said, going into this, I was so excited because, like, okay, vampires. I mean, it has an iconic character from the movie, but that's basically it. And I was proven wrong very quickly as soon as we got to some of the endings or scenes in the book that you could go through. It was really fun, and I actually enjoyed them. That's basically it, because those guys just really were big highlights. One more thing I should probably mention are some of the other characters. Like, I think there was a friend in the book, and they were also pretty cool. There were some other villains, you could say, and they were also really cool. Some really cool scenes in this book. And one of my favorite endings is, I think there was like a whole shit ton of vampires or something. Maybe because you turned it into a vampire. I don't know where it went. I don't know where it went to because that was one of the first endings I read. But there was a shit ton of vampires going on. There was a shit ton of vampires. That was my favorite ending from what I recall. It was probably the most satisfying and cool ending. Maybe not satisfying, but it's definitely the coolest. I think they were at some sort of vampire building or something where vampires were at. I'm not sure where it was because that was like one of the first endings I ever read from this book. And I did not come back to that, but yeah, that was a cool ending, and I really like what happened. yeah. So as previously stated, I feel bad to say this, but there are some downsides about the book, and I have actually mentioned one of them. The lackluster endings, or endings that didn't hit as much. I think we're going to mention this like every single episode of when we review these Give Yourself books. But some of the endings, let's go back a bit. Some of the endings that were lackluster, when you get to them, it's really unsatisfying, or you don't really care about them. I mean, most Goosebumps endings just happen for the sake of happening, just because there's a twist. But some of them just don't land. Like, I mean, I'm not talking about regular Goosebumps books here, but I'm gonna mention them real quick. It's just some of the endings just don't hit. Like a few endings, like for example, well, for most of every Slappy book, it feels like it's almost predictable. Not that I hate it, just because the ending is just kind of reused for most of them. Like, for example, Slappy either, like, wins, or Slappy is, not still alive, but it's still, very predictable. Some of the endings just did not hit right, and they were kind of predictable at times. But yeah, that's the only, real big downside. Now, there's a few, nitpicks that I must say. Definitely prefer the Fifi Road, as I previously said, where you, decide, not to drink the packet of blood. Where Fifi is now the one who was a vampire, usually. Usually the main vampire you're chasing down or whatever. I feel like the Human Road was, a little less interesting, but also more interesting since it did have my favorite ending, but not some of my favorite scenes. But still, Fifi Road was a lot more fun, a lot more cool, in my opinion. You could probably think the exact opposite and think the Human Road was fun. But, yeah, I just felt like the Human Road was, not as fun. But, yeah, that's just me. Anyways, surprisingly, that was it for downsides. This book is actually really good. I don't really know what else to say about it besides, let's get to the ranking. This book, it's a solid 8 out of 10. Nothing really too bad about it. Just like one major thing. Well, not too major, but slightly big. But a lot of good sides, and the vampire theme was really well used. A little overused at times, but I mean, it's literally a book about vampires, and if you just read it like a few endings, and it's just perfect. Not perfect, but you know, nothing's ever perfect. But this book is probably one of the better Give Yourself books out there, and I do recommend this book. It's pretty good if you like vampires. If you hate vampires, like, I guess you don't read that. Really changed my mind about vampires after Vampire Breath, because I didn't really like that book. So, yeah, if you don't like vampires too much, this might change your mind a bit. So, yeah, I do highly recommend this book, as I previously said. And, yeah, I was gonna see you guys probably later today with a new, video, besides this, because there's probably gonna be multiple videos today. Whether it be review for you, I'm on the last few chapters, I haven't finished you. It's not that good. Or, anything else, maybe a smash or pass list on Goosebumps characters. No humans too, that's weird. Anyways, yeah. I'm gay. Here's a picture of me wearing a hair tie, and just recommended. So, yeah, that's all I have to say, guys, see you.